In this video we're going to be looking at some more functions of the Spike Prime Hub that we can use without using the Spike app, so no programming is involved here. In a previous video we built a little hopper model and we used the arrow buttons on the Spike Prime Hub to control the direction and the speed of those motors. But we can actually go a stage further and introduce some sensors into this concept as well. So I've set up a little model here using all three motors and all three sensors. I've connected my colour and light sensor to port A and a medium motor directly opposite that to port B. My ultrasonic sensor is in port C and my large motor is in port D, and my force sensor is in port E, and a second medium motor is attached to port F. Let's turn on the hub and see what happens. So there's my hub turned on and I can see my familiar love heart symbol there. If you remember from the previous video, pressing the power button again will take me to a screen that looks like this. And you can see that I've got some lines here joining my inputs or my sensors to my outputs. And these horizontal lines indicate that my light and colour sensor is going to control this medium motor, my ultrasonic sensor is going to control my large motor, and my force sensor is going to control my second medium motor. So let's see if that works. We can see that there's a light shining from my colour and light sensor, and the sensor is actually measuring reflected light intensity. So in other words, the amount of light that's being reflected back into the sensor. If I put my hand over it, you can see that my motor starts to rotate. This is because the light that's being given out by the sensor is being reflected back into it from my hand. Secondly, I can see on my LED matrix screen a kind of pulse going from port A to port B. Now, if I actually start to move my hand away slowly, the amount of light being reflected back into the sensor decreases, and as a consequence, the speed of my motor also decreases. Let's see what happens with the ultrasonic sensor. So it's pointing up at the moment and there is nothing there within its range. So let's put my hand close to that sensor and see what happens to my large motor. Brilliant, my large motor's going round and we'll stop. We'll go round and we'll stop. I wonder what will happen if I increase the distance between the sensor and my hand. Okay, and I can see that the further away I get, the slower my motor goes. Okay, the last sensor to try is my force sensor. Let's see what happens when I push it all the way in. My medium motor is rotating quite quickly. Now this is a force sensor, so let's try depressing it slowly and see what happens. Okay, so not a lot of force on there right now, and you can see that the motor is spinning quite slowly, and as I increase the force, the motor begins to spin faster. So this is a really great way to explore the relationship between the sensors and the motors without using programming, and I'm sure your students could create some fantastic models using these concepts.